Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're talking about the brand new Mafex Wolverine. And I've had this figure for about a week and a half, but I haven't been able to review it because of the holidays and work and this and that, whatever. But I'm kind of happy that I was delayed a little bit on this guy, because this way I was able to hear all the criticisms and all the things that people are saying about this figure, and hopefully I can address them in this review and give you a better idea of what this figure is all about, because a lot of people are saying different things. But anyways, let's get into it, starting with the packaging. I love the Mafex comic book Marvel figure packaging. It looks awesome. I love this like comic book themed kind of lettering up here. This looks cool, like a issue number, and you're able to see the figure. Down here it says Wolverine, Mafex, Marvel, X-Men, all the good stuff. On the side we get a shot of Wolverine and then a really nice drawing of Wolverine up here, an X logo down here. On the back we get a look at the figure and all the cool stuff that he could do, the accessories that he comes with, some cool poses, all kinds of good stuff. Over here it says Wolverine, X-Men, and then shows the figure, and that's about it for the packaging. It's collector friendly, it's small, it protects the figure if you want to leave them in there, and it's awesome. So I really like the packaging from Mafex. But anyways, let's take them out of the packaging and take a look at the figure. So here's Wolverine right out of the box, and this is a beautiful looking figure. The sculpt and design is very well done. I like the build. He looks like a perfect Wolverine. I did think that I wasn't going to like the blue lines at first, and when I had this figure on the way, I was contemplating like whether or not I should paint these. But once I got the figure and started messing with it, the blue lines kind of grew on me, and I don't mind them as much. I would have preferred black, but I'm okay with the blue lines. I understand that there's a lot of different versions of Tiger Stripe Wolverine as far as the color goes, so it's not inaccurate or anything, but I just prefer the black lines. But the blue is nice, and I'm sticking with it. So I bet in the future Mafex will re-release it with black lines and everybody will complain, but we'll all buy it just like a bunch of suckers that we are. You know how it is. But anyways, as far as the QC issues go, I don't have any paint slop on mine. For the most part, the paint is very well done, and yes, right out of the box when I was messing with the figure, he was kind of falling apart, and it was very, very frustrating. But you know what, I don't know, after a while it just kind of stopped. And so starting with the arms, so what we have going on here, and you saw how hard it was for me to take it out. I mean, it wasn't hard, but there was some pressure and some resistance. But anyways, so what we have going on here is there's this super long peg that goes through the bicep, and I think for a lot of people there's just not a lot of room for it to go through. As you can see, there's kind of a barrier there, and this block kind of stops it. So you have some options. If you want, you could take a Dremel out that hole in there, and then this will go all the way through, or maybe like trim this block down to get it in there further. I don't know. For me, I didn't have to make any modifications like that. All I did was I put the arm back together once it fell off a few times, and I just pushed it in like super hard and just made sure that it was there. You want to line it up really good like that, otherwise it's going to kind of fly that way. But you want to push it from the lower arm, like the forearm, not the bicep. That's not going to do anything for you because that's not connected. So push it right there at the bicep, and once I did that, it's been fine. I could mess with this figure a lot and have no problems. The arm doesn't come off. I could spin it around, I could do whatever, and the arm is not coming off. If I do enough, it'll come off, but that's really only if I'm trying. If I'm messing with it naturally, his arm doesn't come off. So, I mean, hopefully I'm doing a good job of showing you that that's the case. I mean, the arm's not falling off. I'm trying to be 100% honest with you guys, because I know in a lot of reviews, people are messing with the figure and it kind of falls apart. And that is something to consider if you want to buy this figure, that might happen to you, but it's not happening every time. For me, it hasn't been the case. So look at, it's in there tight. It's not coming off. If I want to remove it, there's some resistance. So, I don't know. I'm not sure what to say, really. Like, some people maybe just got bad figures. Some people didn't. And fortunately I did not. I'm really happy with this. Same kind of thing going on here, right out of the box, this arm wasn't falling off as much as this one, but this one was kind of going crazy at first, but now it's not. I don't have the problem at all. The one problem I do have with this figure as far as things falling off is that his head comes off really, really easy, and it's frustrating because when you're trying to pose him, his head will just pop off. And it's not only because like it's loose or anything. I mean, it is a little loose. It's not as tight as it should be, but on top of that, it has this really awkward angled peg inside of the neck, and that's because they want to make it so you get maximum movement out of the head. So that's understandable, but if it's pointing like a different direction, it just kind of comes apart really easy, and I can fix that. I'll probably maybe just add a layer of something on there to make it a little bit tighter. You shouldn't have to do that for such an expensive figure, but I'm not going to cry too much about it. It's okay. It's an easy fix. I didn't want to do it before the review though, so I want people to be aware of that. And aside from that, let's see, like for the legs don't pop off too much much either. I mean, if I push it enough, his leg will come off. But again, you have to be trying to do these things at some point. If you're just messing with it naturally, I don't think it's going to happen too much. Like for me, it hasn't really been the case, you know? And the other big issue people are having is the torso. Yeah, my torso joint is really tight, but it doesn't matter because you get most of the movement out of the waist. And we'll talk about that in the articulation. But yeah, the torso's a little tight. I'm not sure what's up with that. But again, it's not enough for me to cry about. So before we got too into this review, I just wanted to discuss some of the issues that I see other people having. And I don't think that it's an issue like with every single version of Wolverine, of the Mafex Wolverine out there. Maybe some people got some bad copies. Maybe a lot more people got bad copies than they should have. But it's not the case all the time. My figure's holding together very well. So I think some of the bashing on this figure is a little excessive. And I don't agree with all of it. But yeah, I just wanted to be sure to give you guys like a fair look at my figure and what I experienced. So hopefully that's helpful if you're trying to decide whether or not you should buy this figure. But let's go ahead and get into the review, how I do it. So first off, like I said, it's a really nice looking figure. I do like all the details. The sculpting is very well done. And I really like what they did with the paint details on Wolverine. As you can see in the muscle creases, there's a darker shade of yellow, and it adds a little depth to the figure. It makes it look not so plastic, and that is awesome. I think that looks really good, and that kind of carries throughout the whole figure. We have the same thing going on the legs and everything, on the back of the figure, and it looks really good. And then we have the blue stripes here that, even though I would have preferred the black stripes, the blue is definitely growing on me, and I think it looks cool. The shoulder pads have like a metallic look to them, and then the arm actually has hair on it. It's not sculpted or anything. It's just kind of painted on there. It looks kind of flat, but you know, when you're zoomed in like this, you can see how flat it is. But when you're just looking at the figure, the illusion is sold very well. So I think that's awesome. The gloves look good. You've got the little ports on his fist that look nice. You know, same thing over here. We've got some hair, the gloves, all that good stuff. I do like the way they did the belt because it is a floating piece, so it doesn't really get in the way of the articulation. But it is attached in the back, so you don't have to worry about it like riding way up his abdomen here or going way too low or anything like that. So that's really cool. I really wish Marvel Legends would start doing that. I think that's an awesome idea. And then down in here, the boots look really good too. Again, we have that light blue color, but it looks really, really nice. And yeah, just in general, I think this is a really good looking Wolverine figure. I love how they did these shoulder pads. They basically just have a ball joint in the back, and it's cool because you could move these. Like, no matter which way you position the arm, you could cover up the joint with these things. So I think that's awesome. That's a really cool way to do that. But anyways, I think this head sculpt looks really nice too. This is the head sculpt that's on him inside of the packaging. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the 3 head sculpts right now since we're zoomed in close. And luckily, mine doesn't have any big paint imperfections. I've seen a couple people say that they had some black on the yellow right in there, and that's a bummer. But for mine, I kind of got lucky. So I am happy with that, and I think this is a really good Wolverine head sculpt. Next up, we have his angry looking head, and this is probably my favorite out of the 3, but this looks really, really good. Got the big crazy ears, same thing on the other one. I really like the size of these ears. These look really nice, or I don't know if you want to call them ears, whatever they're called. And then for the final head, he has an unmasked head that comes with a cowl down piece, so you just put that on his neck there, stick the unmasked head onto there, and there we go. And I think this is a pretty good looking head sculpt for Wolverine. It pretty much has the same tone and feel as the other Mafex comic book figures. And I think it's cool. It works out good. I think it's probably one of the better 6-inch Wolverine head sculpts that we've seen in a while. So that's good. One thing that drives me crazy about this head is that it barely stays on there. I mean, you could see it like pop on there, and that's cool. But when you're moving the figure around, it comes off really easy. So like I said, that's an easy fix, and I'll worry about that later, but, you know, definitely should be noted that this thing has a hard time staying on. But aside from that, I think this is a really nice head sculpt, and the cowl down effect is always a cool accessory, so we've seen that a couple times, but that's awesome. And for the rest of the accessories, he really doesn't come with too much. Aside from the 3 heads that I've already shown, he also comes with 3 different sets of hands. So first off, we have a pair of fists, and then we have a set of open, relaxed hands. And then last but not least, he comes with a set of fists with the claws popped out. And these claws are causing all kinds of drama too. Everybody's kind of complaining that they look too long and this and that, whatever. And yeah, they're pretty long, but I mean, I still think they look good. I don't know what's wrong with them being too long. A lot of people are like, well, they wouldn't fit into the forearms and this and that. And they're trying to make like logic out of a dude that has claws popping out of his hands. And, you know, like, I'd like to keep things as realistic as possible myself, but at the same time, you know, when we're talking about comic book characters and just cool things like this, we got to have a little bit of suspension of disbelief, you know, because like these claws don't make sense in any case. Like if he had his claws retracted like normally, he couldn't use his wrist. And I don't hear anybody complaining when Wolverine like bends his wrist, even with his normal size claws. If these were like a quarter of an inch smaller, and they came in, they'd still come up over his wrist, and you know he wouldn't be able to use his hand. But no one cries about that. But I don't know, the thing is, I feel like people just look for things to complain. In my opinion, I think these long claws look really cool, and the claws are very well done too. They have like the tips that are kind of angled, and they do look kind of metallic, so they're really nice. So you know, this is another thing where I think people just kind of dislike the price on this figure, and they're just kind of looking for things to bash. And I don't really think a lot of the complaints are necessarily justified. If you got this figure and he's falling apart, then you know you have every right to say that it sucks. But if you don't have the figure and you're kind of just looking for things to bash on, it's kind of whack, you know. For size comparisons, we have the Mafex Wolverine alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Tiger Stripe Wolverine and the Marvel Legends Lovers Triangle 3-pack Wolverine, and it's going to be really hard to decide which one of these I like the best. All of them have their strengths. I do plan on putting together a comparison video with these guys, and I'm probably going to include the Revoltech Wolverine and just make one of those like who did it best type of videos. I think that's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot to say between these 4 different Wolverine figures, so that'll be fun. Look out for that. And then here we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Cyclops and the Marvel Legends Lovers Triangle 3-pack Cyclops. And I think he looks pretty good next to both of them. If you want to mix lines with Mafex, Mezco, and Marvel Legends, I think you could probably work it out. Next, we have him alongside the Mafex comic book Spider-Man and Mafex comic book Venom. And I think Mafex is doing a great job with the Marvel comic book based stuff. And so far, I've liked all the ones that I picked up. I did miss out on Deadpool. I need to go back and get that one. He looked pretty cool too, but it was kind of stupid that he didn't come with any guns. Anyways, these guys look cool together. And then here we have him alongside some of his lady friends. We have the Marvel Legends Lovers Triangle 3-pack Jean Grey and the Walgreens exclusive Mystique. And then here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Jubilee and the Marvel Legends Gambit. And I would really like to see Mafex do a Gambit figure. I think that would be really, really cool. Next up, we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Magneto and the Marvel Legends Nightcrawler. And then, of course, here he is with the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cat. And then here we have him with a couple of its arch nemesis. We have the Marvel Legends Silver Samurai and Marvel Legends Omega Red. Unfortunately, I don't have any good Sabretooth figures. I don't think any of the ones that have been released are very good. So hopefully someone comes along and makes a really good Sabretooth figure. And then for the final comparison, we have Wolverine with his old buddy Hulk from the Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary 2-pack. And now for the articulation. Like most Mafex figures, this guy's packed with articulation. There's a lot of good stuff going on here, so I'm pretty happy with it. But let's go ahead and get into it. So his head can move side to side. It's on a little ball joint. And he has movement where the neck meets the head and where the neck meets the torso. So using both of those there, you could get a really nice tilt from his head and neck area. So that's really cool. And then he could look all the way up to right there. And that is awesome, especially when he's facing off like against Hulk or like another big character. I think that's super dope. He could look down to about right there. And then the torso is a little weird. So what we have going on here is a mid-torso cut, and then we have a cut at the waist. And the waist is pretty much where you're going to get most of your movement. As you could see, it could go all the way to the side. It could go forward a really nice amount. And this is without engaging the ab crunch at all. This is pretty much just the waist joint there. And then it could come back to right there. And then you got him straight forward right there. So that's really good movement there. And of course you have a twist. All kinds of good stuff. Look at that. That's awesome. I like that joint a lot. And then to add a little bit more to it, we do have that mid-torso cut. But for whatever reason, the mid-torso cut is really, really tight. You could get some bend out of it, but not much. And you got to be real careful. But yeah, check that out. Using both of those, look at, you get a crazy crunch. But yeah, I'm just surprised that it's so tight. I really don't know what's up with that. It can twist without any huge issue, so that's good. But yeah, I don't know why it's so tight. You can't really get it to go back at all. Yeah, I'm going to have to heat this up and maybe pop it apart and see what's going on with that. But still, for the most part, the torso is really good. And even if you don't want to mess with the mid-torso cut, you get all the movement you need out of that waist joint. So I'm fine with it. I think that's awesome. And then for the arms, they do go all the way around. And he has the shoulder piece that's articulated like I mentioned before, so it gets out of the way pretty good. His arms can come out to the side. You have the upper bicep swivel. double jointed elbow. He has a little ball joint at the wrist, so you can move his hands like in all kinds of different directions, and then you have a hinge going like most import figures. But these shoulders are really nice. Check this out. You could get his arm cocked back like that, like he's getting ready to punch somebody. And I really like that you could bring his arms across the front of his chest here. You just got to kind of mess with it. You could get him into some like pretty nice boxing poses or something, you know. But yeah, I think these arms have really good articulation. And like I said, you know, they're not popping apart or anything like that. You can see me just kind of messing with it freely. But yeah, the arms have really good movement, so I'm happy about that. I feel like maybe it would have been better if these things could move back a little bit more. Maybe if there was a little bit more plastic cut out of right here, that would have been beneficial. But for the most part, I think it's pretty good. You could definitely shift the ball joint around to get it how you want. But yeah, that's good. I think the arms have really good articulation. And then for the legs, we have the typical import drop down hips. So you could bring his legs up to about right there. And then you have the double jointed knee. You do have a thigh swivel. When you're messing with the thigh swivel is when like it tends to pop out, but you know, not a lot. It's not like overdoing it. It's not like every time I touch the figure or anything. It's just like any other Mafex figure, or you know, pretty much any other import figure. Figure Arts does the same thing, you know. And then we have double jointed knee, like I said. You do have a swivel at the boot, but it's really tight out of the box. And then you have a swivel at the foot. A hinge, go up and down like that. You got some nice side to side rocking action, and then toe articulation. So like I said, this figure has really great articulation. That's no big surprise coming from Mafex. They usually have really nice articulation on their figures, and Wolverine here is no exception. So I'm very happy with the articulation setup on this guy. I can't really think of anything I wish they did better as far as the articulation goes, other than maybe allowing his arm to come back a little bit more at the shoulder area. But like I said, there's kind of a workaround. You could get his ball joint facing that direction, and then you know, kind of achieve the same goal there. But yeah, for the most part, really good articulation. Okay, guys, so if you can't already tell, I really like this figure. And I feel like he's getting bashed a lot more than he should. And that's why I kind of felt like I had to defend this figure a little bit. So I apologize if I came off a little defensive, but there's just some things people are complaining about that I just don't agree with. At least for my figure, I had a really positive experience. Like I said, some of the limbs popped off right out of the box, but once I plugged them in properly, then I was good to go, and I haven't really had any issues. So I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of this figure, and I think this guy's very well done. It's probably one of the best looking 6-inch Wolverine figures out there. It's probably the most articulated. He's a little bit light on accessories. I do wish that he came with a little bit more, especially because of the cost. You know, he costs like 90 to like $100. It's pretty expensive, so it should have came with some more accessories. I don't really know what else they could have thrown in there. You know, I would have loved to have seen a cigar, but you know, nobody seems to be able to throw in a cigar with the Wolverine figure, even though that would have been really cool. At least he does come with multiple heads and multiple hands. He comes with the essentials that you would need for a Wolverine figure, so I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah, like I said, it's one of the most articulated Wolverine figures that you'll ever see, and he's a lot of fun just to mess around with once you have all the limbs plugged in properly. And once the arms are secure and stuff like that, he's a lot of fun to handle. And I know that hasn't been the case with everybody, and that's unfortunate, but I feel like this is a really nice figure. And if you don't like this figure, that's perfectly okay. Everyone's gonna have different experiences with this figure. For me, the experience was pretty positive, so I'm really happy with this guy. And if you have this figure and you like it, just enjoy it. Who cares what everybody's saying? If you think it's a good figure, it's a good figure. So there we go. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this review. Be sure to look out for my Tiger Stripe Wolverine comparison video that I should have posted later this week. And if you want to support the channel, please be sure to check out the Amazon links in the description below, or you can always buy an awesome Odious head, either done by Shinrito or Casting Cave. Both are available, so you can check that out. And then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you so much. Peace.